The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, September 7th, 2023, season 19, episode number 26. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. And today we're going to get into more talk. Cowboys versus Giants. That's coming up Sunday night football. We'll talk about the Giants defense today. I'm sorry, we talk about the Giants offense today versus the Cowboys defense. Before we do that, though, got to get some updates on some injuries. We've got three that we're keeping an eye on. One that actually has some good news, not necessarily about the injury per se, but just some personal news, it sounded like, for Mr. Donovan Wilson.
Donovan Wilson, he's missing practice today for what Mike McCarthy called a great personal reason. And as it turns out, Dono is the latest Dallas Cowboy to welcome a newborn into his family. So that makes three since July. So it was Tony Pollard early in training camp, Kevontae Turpin, and now Donovan Wilson. And McCarthy said he told the guys, if there's something in the water, let me know.
Yeah, right.
So,
keep that water away from me. My household.
So congratulations. You might have just jinxed yourself. So congratulations.
Nah, we 50, bro. We're done with that.
God's plan. So Donovan Wilson, so no change in his status as far as availability or potentially lack thereof against the Giants. We still don't know anything more than we did yesterday, other than he's doing work on the cords. But he'll have a chance to do some more work tomorrow, not a practice tomorrow, but do some work, and then the walkthrough on Saturday, which is, I think, really when they'll make a determination on him. Some more positive news on Tyler Smith, although he is still not participating in today's practice, today being Thursday. Mike McCarthy basically affirmed what I said on yesterday's show. What my plan would be to sit out Tyler Smith all this week, give him the walkthrough on Saturday, and then say, hey, see you Sunday night. Mike McCarthy this morning said that all Tyler Smith needs to have a good shot at playing on Sunday is to participate in the walkthrough on Saturday. So it looks like that bar is really low for Tyler Smith, which is good. He said Tyler told him that he feels great. He's feeling good with that hamstring strain. So really good chance that Tyler Smith takes the field. Sam Williams with the turf toe, still with the rehab group today on Thursday. But he did more work today than he did on yesterday. So I'm still right there with Broaddus on I'm pessimistic on if Sam takes the field on Sunday, but it does look like he's at least making some progress. So that's what's going on the injury front. I will say, key to note, Jordan Lewis was a full participant in yesterday's practice. So as he returns from his Lisfranc injury, which was actually worse than that, he is practicing fully in his second week back from the PUP list. He says he feels good. I talked to him in the locker room yesterday. I asked him straight up. I said, hey, are they ramping you up in practice? And he said, quote, unquote, hell no. He said Mike told him, I want to throw you into the fire. So he said he was being lined up against Lamb, Cooks, Gallup yesterday. Yeah. So expect more of that today. So good look for Jordan Lewis going into Sunday's matchup against the Giants.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire, I think, on Tyler Smith. I think it's going to – I anticipate him being with Britt Brown all week until Saturday, and then they're going to figure it out from there. I don't – and Adoga, we talked about veteran options. He seems like the guy that they would probably put in there at left guard to be. But I would anticipate – the next couple of days, they're really trying to figure out Tyler Smith's injury. And so, Britt does a good job of, getting those guys ready. He could talk about feeling great and feeling healthy and all that, but the determination is going to come from that trainer in that, if he's ready to go, much like it is with Sam Williams as well. If he goes out there and works out and just doesn't feel right or it doesn't look right or he can't push off, they're not going to put a hurt player out there. They just don't do that. So I do think it's going to be close on Tyler Smith. And, again, that's just talking to some folks in the organization. Yeah.
Just a little bit scary because sometimes when situations like that happen where you're literally waiting down to the wire, and let's say in this instance, what happened Saturday with him in the walkthrough and pregame warm-ups and all that, it makes you wonder, too, is it better to just, given that it's the first week of the season, is it better to just be super extra precautionary and take precaution and just letting him rest for a whole week in case he re-injures himself or whatever? Because we haven't played a single game yet, and you do want him healthy all throughout the season.
I think that's a good point. I mean, not that I think it's a good point. It is a good point. What I would also add to that, though, is to your point as far as they'll work him out with the Saturday walkthrough. You got the pregame, and then they'll ask him how he feels after the pregame, and then if he's a game time decision, that's how they'll make that decision. But that precaution could also lend itself to them allowing him to start if Saturday's walkthrough looks good, pregame looks good. Let him start. And then after a couple of reps, you pull him to the side and say, hey, how are you feeling? And then you have that contingency plan, be it Edoga or Bass or whomever else, Brock Hoffman, maybe some Awesome Richards. But I think that's a measure as well, because I do think you have to at least if he feels good enough, give him the chance to line up against this New York Giants defensive front, because you're going to need it, knowing that while every game is important, statistically speaking, this game is more important than week 2 against the New York Jets. So if you're going to have to be without him, you'd rather it be against the Jets than against New York, just by way of the division race, right? So if you're going to be a little less than 100%, yeah, you want to defeat Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but potentially losing to the Jets is not as bad as losing to the Giants, especially in week 1 when you have all this hype coming into the season.
I disagree with you on that one, because I feel like, though, there's only 17 of these games, and so they always ask you too, like, is this a must-win? Hell, they're all must-win. You only play 17 of them. This isn't Major League Baseball where you play 162, or NBA where you play 82. This is, you have to think about. And if there's questions about him potentially hurting himself, I get it. You've started Edoga. He's practiced all week. Fine. If something happens, I wouldn't play him on the hey, how do you feel bit. I would say either you're going to play this game or you're not going to play this game. But yeah, I kind of feel like, though, I'm not playing with that. We're going to rotate guys here that way. I'm either going to go with the guy that practiced all week, or the guy, like, if we determine that Tyler Smith is healthy enough to go full game and not have any problems, then that's who I'm going to roll with. I'm more like with Ambar, though. I know, to me, if my guy is somewhat questionable or limited, it happens late in the year where guys are really banged up and you get to that point. But right now, if he's not healthy enough to go and give me confidence he can go the whole game, I lived that in a game at the Meadowlands before with Amari Cooper going 5 plays against the Jets and then not playing the rest of the game. So I'm not going to do that again, for sure.
Well, I think my point is you're going to – if he feels good in Saturday walkthrough – and he passes the pregame physical and everything,
then he's good enough to go.
Then he's good enough to go.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you're still playing a guy that didn't practice all week anyway. So
yeah, that's the thing that they, that's their rule. I mean, there used to be a previous administration used to be here where if you didn't practice, you really didn't play.
Right.
If that's Mike McCarthy's way of doing it, and that's okay. But determine that if he is good enough that he is not going to get injured and we're going to lose him for the Jets and 2 or 3 other games down the road.
Right.
I'm determined.
Oh, no, if we're talking 2 or 3 games, then no, you sit him for week 1. But
well, that's what I'm saying. If you could get into a game and all of a sudden a strain turns into a pull or something worse, then, I think that, to me, that's prevent. I'm more with Ambar. You've got Edoga ready all week. Play him if he's ready. I mean, play him because he's practiced. But if Tyler Smith if they determine on Saturday that it's not, that he's moving around and he can't, and he's going to maybe
then shut him down.
Then shut him completely
I'm there with
down.
that. Yeah, I'm there with that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Said it's only 17 games. It reminds me of what Parcells used to say.
Yeah.
It's football season. In football season, football players play football.
Yeah.
There's not like, honestly, and I think the players look at it like that. Like, there's only 17 chances you get every season.
Yeah.
And they want to be out there.
Which is why Tyler wants to be out there against the Giants.
That's the tricky thing. It's like you don't want to bubble wrap anybody, because that's the whole point of what you work for the whole year. But at the same time, you got to be precautionary, and
you play the balance game. If he wants to go,
tricky.
if he's good to go, at least good enough to go, because football players play football, then he looks good pregame, you put him in, and then after the first offensive drive, you do pull him to the side and say, how you feeling? Any soreness, any tightness? And if he says no, okay, then you're playing the rest of this game. If he says it's tightening up a little bit, okay, well, now it's a conversation. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, let's move on real quick. I wanted to get to one bigger question around the defense before we get into the actual assessment of the defense versus the Giants' offense. Looking back at last season, they were, I would say, probably among the top. You could say probably realistic top 7, 8 defenses in the league. You might even say a little higher. But that being said, if there was one thing going into this year that you'd say this defense needs to be much better at this, and it'll take them to that next level.
Are you talking about the Cowboys or the
Cowboys
Giants?
Defense.
I was about to say the Giants they don't get any turnovers.
No, yeah, I'm talking about Cowboys defense.
Yeah, if you're a
Cowboys
Giants fan, you want them to turn the ball, which they're absolutely horrible at doing.
Looking at the Cowboys defense as a whole, going back to last season, what's that one thing you'd want them to be better at?
It's got to be run defense, and I think it.
But were they really?
Well, it improved.
Okay,
it improved markedly when you made the trade for Jonathan Hankins.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. You also saw what happened when Jonathan Hankins was out for a couple games with injury. It kind of took a step down again. But I think that can be bolstered with the addition of Mozzie Smith. And I'm right there with Brian on you need to unleash Mozzie as much as possible.
Yeah.
Let him get them
Don't
reps.
stand in his way.
100% agree. But I think that while it has improved with Jonathan Hankins and theoretically should improve that much more so with Mozzie Smith, until you see that run defense for the Cowboys consistently week in, week out for the majority, if not the entirety of a season, quell any concerns that you've had over the past several years, that's going to continue to be kind of like the crux of the defense. They can take the ball away in the air. They can take the ball away on the ground. They can force fumbles just like they can get interceptions. Their pass rush is arguably one of, or if not the best in the league when you put it up against the Eagles and the 49ers. So the weak spot, if you're not talking about depth like linebacker, the weak spot for me, albeit not a weak spot anymore, just needs the consistency to prove to me that they can stop the run on top of everything else. And once they do away with that question mark, it's an impenetrable defense at that point.
Stupid third down penalties. Stupid third down penalties. How many times have we seen a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8, and all of a sudden they get a great stop, they get pressure, they get a sack, whatever. Then there's illegal contact. There's a hold, a defensive hold, hands to the face, low, unsportsmanlike penalty, low into the quarterback's legs. You know, you're getting off the field on 3rd down. Don't put your defense back in harm's way by an illegal contact penalty on the complete opposite side of the field. If you're a safety, don't hold the tight end when he's not a factor in the play. Limit the stupid 3rd down penalties that keep you from getting off the field.
Well, Kelvin Joseph is no longer here, so that's
catch it straight.
Don't put it all on Kelvin. Let's not put it all on
No,
Kelvin.
I said that's one thing.
I got you.
Sam Williams is a work in progress.
Right, you know, and Diggs will
What'd you
hold.
say?
Diggs will catch.
Kelvin catching strays?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that language that you're talking over there.
Kelvin knows that language.
But no, there are a number of players I think you could probably point to for some of those silly mistakes. Like they'll throw some of those at you, and most inopportune
that
times.
is the one thing. Like this defense will do a great job of getting you in a bad position, and then they will choke you off to get off the field. But then all of a sudden it's a holding penalty, hands to the face, illegal contact.
And it's demoralizing.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now you get back on the field, and it's you. Then the team finds a way to get a little rhythm, and they're kicking a field goal or it's a touchdown, and they're putting another 12, 13 plays on your defense because you had an opportunity to get off the field and you didn't get off.
And now you've gone from possibly winning the time of possession to that point to now you're suddenly losing time of possession. So
these offenses will wear you down in the NFL. They will, and it takes a toll on you playing these games, especially early in the year.
Yeah,
especially against Saquon Barkley.
I'm trying to come up with something other than what you guys said, and I'm having a hard time. But the only other thing that comes to mind, and this is not an area that needs to be improved, it's just an area that I see they still have a lot more potential to be better at, are takeaways. Even though last year they got a little bit over 30 plus takeaways, there's still so many instances where they get so close to the ball and their hands. I saw that happening at training camp so much, and they're just right there, and they could just take it to another level. I think that it's just the potential is there, and they could be even better this year.
I think you make a really good point, because to me, look what happened in the San Francisco playoff game. The ball that maybe Diggs didn't see, it got knocked through traffic, and he's got his hands on it, and you're thinking, man, bro, you intercept 11, 12 balls, and your ball skills are some of the best in the league. You get that interception, that's drive over right there.
I'm sure that haunted him.
Yeah, that's just drive over, or ball on the ground. It's they tomahawk the ball in the pocket, and it's on the ground, and some lineman falls on it. Being opportunistic, I think. Man, I'm lucky I said that word right, because I was not too sure about it. But that's where I think that that's where you talk about the improvement in turnovers. If you have a chance to get 4 or 5 extra, being in the right place, right time, or just awareness or finish. Those are things.
And it's not that they've been bad, but they're just so many of those instances.
But the number
could
be even higher.
Yeah.
The number
they've
could
led the league, haven't they? The
last 2 years.
Yeah. So I mean, they've been good. They've been really good.
Although they could have
but
really.
There's certainly opportunities that they've left.
I'll add one to that point. In addition to the takeaways, let's see if we can get 1 or 2, maybe even 3 more defensive touchdowns. Help your offense out that way, while your offense is trying to find its groove with McCarthy as the play caller and Schottenheimer as the OC. See if you.
Now you're taking it a whole other notch, because that's where I wanted to go.
Also where they have to go.
That's where I wanted to go. I want it to be a whole nother notch, because we talked about yesterday difference between being a great defense and being a special defense. I want them to be a special defense, and that's what I'm demanding from.
That reminds me of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the year that they won the Super Bowl. The year before that, they had a really good defense, and I think it was Gruden that came in there as the head coach, and what he told the defensive leaders was, this is what the reports say, or some of the players have talked about it. He is like, you guys got to go from just being a great defense to being special, and to be special, what you got to do is score.
Yeah.
And that defense that year, if you remember back, was special, because it
Rondé
seemed like
Barber.
Barber. Those guys, whenever they got a chance, they were taking. Not only were they getting the ball, they were getting the ball and taking it back, and they were scoring. And that's what made them such a special defense.
Well, that's how they won the NFC Championship. It was a Rondé Barber scoring on that put the game away for him at the end. So, that's one way to do it.
Yeah. I will say real quick, too, also, I think one of the things that sticks out to me for this defense is I think they got to win on some of the early downs. They have to have the mentality, we're going to earn the right to rush the passer. Because I think opposing offenses are going to come into every game saying we're going to try everything in us to not put ourselves in a situation where they can pass rush, because their Cowboys pass rush is special, and so I think they're gonna have to be very focused. It's about stopping the run, but it really is more, in my opinion, about not just stopping the run, but winning first and second downs and forcing teams into those third and long situations. That will give them the opportunity to then turn loose their superpower, which is getting after the passer, and that's going to get the turnovers, because you get to the quarterback, you got fumble sacks. You've got situations where they're trying to get the ball out quick, and you got a DB that jumps a route and gets a pick. I think that's where you really can become special. So if they can win on first and second downs, I think that'll be huge for them.
I think that comes to what you're talking about as well with tackling. When you're an elite defense, you have elite tackling. Like we've seen teams are really good defenses that all of a sudden ball is out, it's a completion, but it's a 3-yard gain because it's tackled right there, or it's a 4-yard gain because it's tackled right there. There's not, maybe early in the season, the tackling is not as good because you're not as used to it. I mean, the preseason games and all that, fine. But keep an eye on when you're watching these games, how many missed tackles there are in these games that maybe lead to big plays. That's the thing that kills these defenses, is these chunk big plays, that they give up.
All right, we're going to take our first.
That the Cowboys are hoping to take advantage of against opposition with Deuce Vaughn, Tony Pollard, Brandon Cooks, these guys in space.
No doubt. Yep. All right, we're going to take our first break. We'll come back. We'll get into our Scouts Notebook. Brian is going to break down the Dallas defense versus the New York Giant offense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time. But what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Rally Days presented by SeatGeek give all NFL fans an experience of a lifetime. The day prior to the Dallas Cowboys home games on September 16th, enjoy activities at Miller Lite House. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of AT&T Stadium and more. Visit attstadium.com/rallydays for more information and to get your tickets today.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. I just looked up and saw there's Darren Waller on Good Morning Football. Cowboys are going to get a good look at him this weekend. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting one. And Brian, as we get ready to jump into this conversation. Now, by the way, real quick, I do need to say this segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, cool. So, Brian, here we go. Let's talk about the Dallas defense versus the New York Giant offense.
Yeah, it's a offense that has really remade itself with additions. And, they were able to get in the playoffs. A lot of it had to do with, I feel like the coach came in from week one. If you Brian Daboll, the coach there, week one, they go for the victory in Tennessee. It kind of set the tone for the whole season for them, and especially with what they were able to do offensively. He came in, he limited the number of turnovers that Daniel Jones has. That's really where this team is going to focus on, trying to do things to keep him on schedule, keep him ahead of the chains. He's an outstanding athlete. He's going to run. He is going to, in the pocket, if things break down, he's going to take off running on you. So you have to be careful about that. He's very confident in the way he's playing. They like to move the pocket with him. They like him to throw on the move more than they do actually throw within the pocket. But the additions that they've made, though, Isaiah Hodges, when you look at Paris Campbell as well, and then the addition of Jalen Hyatt, the rookie from Tennessee. What they're going to do is their starters are likely going to be Hodges, Slayton, Campbell. And then with Shepard and Hyatt also getting opportunities, Wan'Dale Robinson's a little nicked up right now. The slot player for them is going to be Paris Campbell, is who that's going to be. Hyatt's the vertical player. He's the downfield threat you have to worry about, but the other guys will all be involved. Hyatt was a guy I thought initially would be a starter, but no, he's not the first time around. It's going to be Hodges, Slayton, Campbell. Again, working Paris Campbell out of the slot. Also working Paris Campbell, much like what they do with Turpin. You're going to see, maybe him in the backfield, maybe him getting those reverses. They're going to try a lot of misdirection stuff on you. So you have to be very mindful of that. You mentioned Darren Waller. The Giants have had a history of outstanding tight ends. It's a shame, not a shame, but Evan Ingram, it's funny how he goes from the Giants to Jacksonville and he's a totally different player. Well, here they add Darren Waller to the mix, and Darren Waller is a big body guy. You look at him on the field, he's physical, he's tough down the field, he can extend, he's an athlete. How you take care of him will be a big part of this game. Will you, if you put a smaller guy on him, if you think you could put a corner on him, it's not going to work. He's just too big. I think that maybe the matchup here will be Curse. And that, and the fact, because you got to go with length on length here, and you got to go with a physical player against a physical player. So Darren Waller, there's going to be a lot of boots, the waggles, the outside the pocket throws. Waller is Daniel Jones's throw him the ball much like Dak and Dalton Schultz. Okay, it's second, third down. I'm going to throw the ball to him. He's going to get 7 yards, and then he's going to get out of bounds, or he's going to get down. He's going to get me a first down. But Waller's that kind of player for them. Barkley running the football. We all know about Saquon Barkley. His career against the Cowboys has not been great. He's struggled through injuries a lot of times. He's got hurt during games. But yeah, they're going to try and get him the ball. He could run it inside. He could run it outside. They like to throw the ball to him. So you got to get ready for the screens. Anything to try and control pass rush that they're going to do. They could use Saquon Barkley just to flip him the ball, you try to tackle him in space, which could be a big problem for you. On the offensive line, they're playing kind of roulette right now at left guard. They don't know who their starter is at left guard. Bredesen and Glowinski are the two guards primarily, but they rotate a lot of different guys. They have a rookie center that's a very good athlete, and he's good at handling some one-on-one blocks, but he does have trouble with power a little bit. And people have been able. There was when you watched him at University of Minnesota. He was able to kind of reach. When I say reach, is go to if a player is wide on him, to get his body in position where he could turn back. He hasn't had as much sustain as he has in college, and maybe these NFL tackles are giving him a little bit of a problem. So keep in mind what's going on inside. Roulette at guard, and then a little bit of a rookie center that's problem with his sustain. So maybe the Cowboys can win some of those battles inside. You clearly want to attack Evan Neal, the right tackle. And this is where I think that DeMarcus Lawrence has had some good. When he's able to break down guys, Evan Neal is a guy that he could break down. He's a little bit of a slower guy. Andrew Thomas on the other side is one of the best left tackles in the league. When you start talking about that guy out there in San Francisco and others, Andrew Thomas's name will get thrown into this mix right here. So they've added some players throughout just because they've added some skill with guys like I say, Hodges and then Campbell and Hyatt. And then they've also added Waller with the mainstays that they've had. They've tried to upgrade the offensive line a little bit, but there's some areas that you could definitely attack there.
What I love about that scouting report is all of it, but two things primarily. When you talk about Jalen Hyatt and his speed and ability to go deep, him not being pegged as a starter just yet,
right?
That's going to be huge because I already believe that the Cowboys have the personnel to likely delete Jalen Hyatt, particularly as a rookie. He has that going on as well. But I love a matchup with Hodgins, Slayton, Campbell. If that's going to be your top three out there, including your slot. You're talking about Gilmore, Diggs, Bland, and then Jordan Lewis in rotation. Give me the Cowboys in that matchup all day long. You got to love that if you're the Cowboys. And then going to Brian's scouting report on the defensive or the offensive line, the fact that Glowinski has strength issues and he's going to be going up against guys like Jonathan Hankins, Mozzie Smith, Chauncey Ghost, and Neville Gallimore. You got to love that matchup for the Cowboys. And then, as Brian can attest, and anyone who watches football can attest, your offensive line is really going to be only as good as the interior. Once that interior gets blown up, it doesn't matter how good your tackles are. So Evan Neal, yes, he typically gets handled, no other way to put it, by DeMarcus Lawrence. I believe that's going to happen. But you got young guys who are struggling to kind of hold their anchor inside, hold their hands. Jonathan Hankins can feast, Mozzie Smith can feast, and you can get pressure on Daniel Jones, which is going to help disrupt whatever plays you have for Saquon Barkley, which then puts the game on Daniel Jones, who, as we said yesterday in Lab Coat, he just doesn't do well under duress. Yes, he can escape, but I also went to dig up a little bit. How does Daniel Jones perform against Dan Quinn when he has to escape and he starts to use his legs? Well, 15 attempts in his 3 games versus Dan Quinn defense. He's averaging only 34 yards per game on the ground. None of those are wins, and he has no rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So blow up the interior of that defense, and then you got to love the matchup on the outside, receiver versus cornerbacks for the Cowboys, and the game just looks more and more like it's leaning towards Dallas.
Yeah, when you look at this offensive line, it's interesting because, Brian, as you were mentioning, basically it's the right side. It's from the center to the right.
Yeah.
Like that's where the vulnerability is. It's not just one. It's kind of like you mentioned all three of those names.
Right.
You mentioned the center. You mentioned the right guard. You mentioned the right tackle. And when you're playing a defensive front like the Cowboys, that certainly I think should present some opportunities for them if you've got an entire side of your offensive line where there are some questions. Now, again, all these are question marks because you never know how much of a guy has developed and gotten better since the last time you saw him on the NFL field during a regular season game. But all that being said, right now it does look like it would be something that could be exploited by the Cowboys.
Yeah, the thing the Giants are trying to do is, and a thing you need to, like I mentioned with Daniel Jones, is they're trying to get the ball out faster because they realize that they have the problems with, so there's going to be a lot of movement to this. They're going to try and confuse you a little bit too. The motions, the slot motions, the deep overs, the post things, they're going to try and run you down the field. And like I say, Paris Campbell is one of those guys that he's really big run after catch guy. So they're going to try and get him the ball. And that's, like I said, I'm thinking that maybe they're going to try and use him like they use Turpin, where they put him in the backfield. And maybe you'll see him in the backfield with they send Barkley one way and then here comes Campbell back the other. Get you to kind of commit and then run the ball, back the other way. So they're going to do everything in their power not to expose their offensive line.
Who's the most dangerous of those wide receivers? You got Hodgins and Campbell and Slayton.
I think it's Campbell. Well, okay, with Hyatt, it's the vertical game.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So if, all of a sudden it's we're going to max protect this thing and then take a shot, there's either catch, interference, or incomplete. That's kind of where things were. And especially if you're in a situation, I do worry about with Hyatt just because of his speed. But if you watch them as players, Campbell is the one that they like I said, they want to use him in various roles where it's get him the ball and let him run. Let him play in space.
How does Bland match up there?
That's the thing with Bland. The thing with Bland is he's so physical inside. And Bland is not afraid when they run him through things. He's able to navigate. But Bland's a good tackler too. So if Campbell gets the ball, that's what's going to be. It's like ball to him. They're going to try and run him. Ball to him. Tackle him right there. Don't let a 4-yard gain be a 26-yard gain.
Yeah.
Let it, So I would say that Bland, but Bland, I don't know about you guys. I felt like Bland had a really quiet camp this year. And I don't know if it was because they were trying to have Joseph play so much slot that they were trying to get a look there. And they put Bland on the outside to kind of, so maybe he wasn't always totally involved in everything.
Let me just clarify. When you say a quiet camp, are you meaning he wasn't really making plays, or you mean he was getting beat?
No, quiet. Just he wasn't the plays. Usually with him, it's like knockdown pass, knockdown pass.
I got you.
There were guys out there that you were seeing in practice that were knocking. And the thing about, like I said, I love Bland. I think there's a lot of guys out on the West Coast. He goes to Fresno, and there's a lot of those Pac-12 coaches that are going, how do we miss this guy?
Yeah.
The way he plays and all that.
I think he still had a solid camp with. It wasn't like flashy.
Yeah.
He wasn't making headlines or anything, but he was pretty solid.
And I think,
I
do believe it's because of where they played him.
Yeah.
I think on the outside, when he plays inside, usually that's where the ball, the offense is focused on getting the ball to their slot a lot because it's just you have the whole field to cover, and he can clearly cover the whole field.
I think it was a combination of what both of you guys are saying. Number one, it wasn't as flashy, but you could say that contextually because it was Trayvon Diggs' camp as far as the cornerback is concerned, and Stephon Gilmore's camp as far as the cornerback is concerned, and that's where all eyes typically were. It was Stephon or it was Trayvon. Where's Trey? Where's Stephon? But to Brian's point, because the Cowboys were trying to get Kelvin Joseph so many reps in the slot, you did see DaRon Bland doing a lot of outside work. So there was a little bit of a curve there for him to adjust to playing on the outside, but he made his fair share of plays as well, pass breakups, couple of interceptions. So definitely, looking to take that next step. I've seen that he's ready to take the next step, and he's going to fall back into the nickel role now. Now that we're into the regular season, and that's where he thrives, and that's where he thrived last year and led the team in interceptions. So he can definitely, and like Brian said, and 100% agree, he is arguably the most physical cornerback that you have on the team right now. I mean, it's just not Deron not shying away from contact at the line of scrimmage. He wants to put his hands on that receiver, disrupt the route at the line of scrimmage. So if you can disrupt, a guy like Campbell's route,
right,
mess up his timing, that's goal number one. Goal number two, if you fail on goal number one, like he said, delete the yak. If you delete the yak, you've more or less started to neutralize one of their bigger playmakers after the
Be interesting how Lewis fits in the game plan this week too. Because if things are, that's the great thing. If something goes where you have to, whether it's an injury or somebody's not playing well a couple snaps, you can put Lewis in the game and kind of work around that in the slot. And
Giants may even force you into that if they're going to bring all four of those receivers on the field and get into a dime type situation. Maybe it creates that opportunity.
And I tell you what, I talked to Jordan yesterday in the locker room, and like I said, he not only said they're throwing him into the fire, which were his words. I asked him, I said, is there any soreness? How do you feel physically? And he was like, no soreness. I feel great. I said, okay, so how do you feel mentally? Because he said a couple weeks ago it was about feeling football again. I said, now you're lining up against guys, and these are the best guys in the league, Cooks, Lamb. And he said the muscle memory is starting to come back. The confidence is quickly regaining itself, and that dog is starting to return. And I said, so the trash talking? And he was like, oh, it's back. Okay, Jordan Lewis is talking trash again, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's a good sign.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We will come back. I got a question for these guys. We'll have a couple questions, actually, on this matchup. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change. A proud partner of the Cowboys is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Okay, do you eat, sleep, breathe Dallas Cowboys football? Tell us how you spiced up the game for a chance to be named 2023 Cowboys Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan, and win exclusive prizes plus a trip to Super Bowl 58. Nominate yourself or another today at DallasCowboys.com/Fan of the Year.
Final segment of the break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star.
I am not hungover, okay? I don't even drink alcohol, okay? I don't.
Oh,
I just, you know.
We hear you, Mariah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like, alcohol is not good for you.
It's not.
It's not.
Until it is.
Especially if you do.
In the mortal words of Shaggy, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
All right.
I did have something to say, though. When you were talking about the pass rushers
Yeah.
for the Cowboys going up against them. Something came to mind in the early mention of penalties and getting flags and all that. I started thinking, I do think this is a game where the pass rushers can be pretty successful going up against the Giants, but it came to mind, can this be a game where now they start getting penalties because they're going back to training camp? Let me just paint the picture. You know you can't freaking tackle Dak. You can't hit the quarterback or anything.
Right.
So you're restraining yourself. You get into the first week of the season. These are very talented guys that we have on defense, rushing the passer. And now they're going full out, going at it with all their power. And now with the NFL rules, every time don't even look at the quarterback too much because that's a flag right there. So I don't know, maybe it's just me that I'm painting this whole picture of like our guys just freaking attacking them and then a ref just throwing a flag every time because you touch the quarterback a little bit.
Well, you just got to know how to maintain your self-discipline, know how to, play through the play without giving that extra that puts you in position where you can be targeted by the officials and getting those flags thrown. So, yeah, I mean, these guys are ready to go out here and really hit and really knock some guys around. But
because it's been a while.
It's been a while. But I will say, I mean, when you talk about guys like Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, I mean, these are not guys that are typically penalized heavily. So when you look at it from that aspect, I know Sam Williams is trying to, kind of rein that in. But outside of Sam Williams working to rein that in, the Cowboys pass rush isn't notorious for getting those roughing the passer penalties and those unsportsmanlike.
But even with like Micah I think it might have been last year, maybe.
I mean,
but I remember there's
immune.
always like there have been those situations where it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. And he still gets a. But these are veteran guys. I get it, and they know what to do and how to do it and all that. But still, those are some things that sometimes are out of your control.
The official this week in the game is Adrian Hill. And I need to go and look at Adrian Hill's background as far as what we saw last year with, does he protect quarterbacks? Does he let the game go? Does his crew call a lot of roughing penalties? Do they call holding penalties and stuff like that? I need to figure that out. But like I say, it's a different official from what you think for a nationally televised game. Usually you'll catch a Sean Hockley or somebody like that, but Adrian Hill is going to get an opportunity and so we need to study him, and maybe on Friday, tomorrow, I'll have a better idea where that penalty group will go with this crew.
Real quick before we end the show, this is one question I want to throw to you guys. We asked a similar question yesterday where I had you rank offensive players from least to most important for this week's win. I want to do the same thing for the defense, and I have 4 players I'm going to throw to you. I did not purposefully include Micah Parsons because I think that would easily be the top player for all of us. But going from least to most integral to the Cowboys defense being successful this weekend, rank these 4: DeMarcus Lawrence, Jonathan Hankins, Leighton Vander Esch, Stephon Gilmore.
I'm going to go with. Let me make sure I got it right. So
Lawrence, Hankins, LVE, Gilmore.
That's a good one. Let me get LVE as my top. I'm going to go LVE, Hankins. God, you're good at this. LVE, Hankins. And let's say Tank and then Gilmore. Reasoning being, LVE, when you talk about trying to stop Saquon Barkley, you better have linebackers that can cover sideline to sideline. That bottom line, period. And you don't really need much more explanation than that, because if LVE and Damone Clark, if they can cover sideline to sideline and keep Saquon Barkley at or behind the line of scrimmage to let the other dogs eat, then that's a huge win, because again, that puts the game on Daniel Jones, and then that allows Gilmore, Diggs, the secondary, to do what they do. But keeping with Saquon Barkley, because again, for me, that's the number one threat. Hankins, that interior run defense, right? If Brian Daboll determines that he's not having success in the flats and sideline to sideline beating the Cowboys off the edge because LVE has stepped up and he's really playing that game, then he's going to try to run Saquon up the A and the B gap. Okay, well, Hankins, if you have a phenomenal game, that deletes that as well. Goes to Mozzie Smith as well, and anyone else that lines up at that one tech role. Then it goes to Tank. Now we're talking about the pass rush. Now that we've eliminated, hopefully, Saquon Barkley with your linebackers and your interior run defense, now you get to tee off on the edges. DeMarcus Lawrence, because we can't talk about Micah Parsons. Derek said we can't. So the edge, you got Tank teeing off against Evan Neal. He's already shown he can dismantle that guy. He gets in the backfield, makes a long day for Daniel Jones. And then when Daniel Jones, if he's not taken to the ground, if he does escape and he's keeping his eyes downfield, he wants to make a play downfield. Now he has to go up against Diggs, Gilmore, that combo, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis. So that's how my ranking shakes out. And damn, you're really good at this. So I like that. It's smooth.
Van Der Esch, Gilmore, Hankins, Lawrence for me.
Why's that?
Because I feel like, though, I think Patrick's right about LVE. He has to find a way to play sideline to sidelines in this game. And I think Gilmore on the outside, we'll see if they want to attack. If they don't go at Diggs, who will they go at? These receivers, they feel like that they can make some plays down the field. I feel like you got to be able to cover that way. Hankins is a guy, like I say, that could clog up things going inside, and help also LVE with the running game. To me, it's as much as I love Lawrence on the edge rushing, I think there's other options to rush as well. So I'm going to put the rush. I think the rush is going to fall on some other guys. The run stopping going to fall on Hankins and LVE, but most importantly, they're going to need to cover. I think the Giants are going to try and throw the football in this game, and even though the Cowboys pass rush is good, so I think that's on Gilmore to make some coverage.
Right.
I think a lot of these they're very interchangeable. But if I had to look at one specific guy, and I agree with you guys as far as everything you said about Leighton, just because you look at everybody else and you feel like it. Imagine if one single player was out. I think the one area, because of the lack of depth behind it, it would have to be Leighton Van Der Esch. And everybody else, you still have talent. And, I mean, Gilmore, you need him. But I think if you're taking up care of business up front, that should help for what's happening with the defensive backs. So, but, yeah, everything you guys said, retweet, repost, share.
Kind of interested that you guys didn't put Hankins first. And the reason why I would have put Hankins first is similar to what you guys were saying with regards to the run defense. Yes, I need Leighton Van Der Esch to cover the field, sideline to sideline. I think that's infinitely easier when you got a defensive tackle that keeps those offensive linemen off of you to allow you to run sideline to sideline. So I think Leighton Van Der Esch's ability to play this game really well will depend on how much can this defensive front keep those guys from getting to the second level.
DeMarcus Lawrence's game as a run defender might be more important than his pass rush.
That's a really good point.
Very true.
Because if you get Hankins going, holding blocks, and especially against the inside guys that are having problems blocking him, I think that's a good matchup for the Cowboys. Yeah. Van Der Esch on the run, and then you've got Lawrence playing on the run too. Yeah. And I think that the Giants are going to try and run the ball on the edges. I think
that's my point.
They're going to see who is going to play right defensive end. There's going to be a lot of left-handed runs for the Giants. They're going to test whoever your right end is, and they're going to see where Diggs is as far as how physical he wants to play in this game. Yep. People have had some success running the ball to the Cowboys' right and the offense's left. So we'll see how that all holds up.
Also, my thought process, and that's why I had Hankins as my number 2 behind LVE, and it's because I'm confident in feeling that Dabo is going to try to run Barkley off the edges and put him in space out in the flats first. He's going to test the linebackers early to see if they can cover in space.
But their ability to do that is going to be also about, can those defensive tackles keep them off the second level? What we know about Leighton Van Der Esch is Leighton Van Der Esch will play really great football if he's not always having one of those offensive linemen on him.
Dallas should win inside.
Yeah,
Dallas should win inside.
I think him and Damone become much better linebackers. Yeah. By the way, you can probably go across the entire league. Linebackers are better linebackers when they don't have offensive linemen in their face.
No question.
And so if you got a better defensive tackle in front of you, you're going to be better as a linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just the thought process of opportunities, right? Who's going to be attacked early and more often, and I think that based on their scheme, the New York Giants scheme, they're going to attack the linebackers early and more often than they would give Hankins an opportunity to be dominant in the game early. So that's why I have LVE over Hankins, because Obviously, both are important for those reasons, but my scale slides more towards the linebacker simply because I feel like before they test Hankins, they're going to test the linebackers in LVE, and they're going to do that more frequently before they. If LVE can, continue to play well, then they'll say, okay, well, we're not really winning on these edges. Let's at least try the inside, and that's when they run up against.
If you listed Curse, I would have put him second because of what Waller's going to do.
I agree with you on that. As I was reading the question, I thought to myself, I should have thrown Curse in there because Curse would have been even better. Because I agree with you. I may have even
work
put
on
Curse
it for
first.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I
Get
know.
better tomorrow.
I may have even made Curse first if I would have had him in there, but that was my miss. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll wrap this whole thing up, let you guys know what we think is going to happen this weekend. Until then, for Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?